You should pay all our rent. We're doing you a favor. This is a story about my sister-in-law, CL, and her useless boyfriend, UB. Sil is my wife's sister and is a terrific person. UB is decidedly not. In the /Choosingbeggars section, he's the gift that keeps on giving. Like chlamydia. In April of 2020, having lost their jobs due to COVID, they moved in with us rent-free until they get back on their feet. We're happy to have SIL. She's been absolutely terrific, pitching in around the house, spending time with the family, and being my wife's best friend. This is decidedly not true of UB. He locks himself in their room playing video games all day long. He complains about the food, only recently agreed to chip in for higher speed internet, which he kept demanding we pay for, and otherwise makes it clear how much of an imposition it is for him to live in our home rent-free. Sil was finally able to get a full-time job last month. Their finances are still a mess, but things are improving, and she said they'd move out in the spring. Honestly, we're all going to miss her. UB? The best I can say is I don't care if the door hits him on the way out or not, just as long as he's on the other side of it. Our oldest son is 23 and moved about 30 minutes away back in fall of 2019 so he could be close to his work. Thankfully, he's remained employed full-time despite COVID. In the fall of 2020, he renewed his lease for 1 year in a nice but small studio apartment. Recently, a fantastic job opportunity arose for our son. He's moving much further away, which is sad, but it's a great opportunity, and we're happy for him. The largest problem for him is his lease, which still has 10 months to go. He spoke with his landlord, who is a good guy. The landlord said he'd be willing to let our son out of the lease ordinarily, but with COVID, he has several tenants who haven't paid rent for a while and he can't afford another apartment generating no income. He agreed that he would let our son out of the lease the moment he could rent the apartment to someone else, but the market has been really slow and he doesn't know how long that would take. I don't blame the landlord a bit. He's being fair. Looking to get out of the lease sooner, our son suggested SEL and UB move in. He would move out February 1st, but pay for February and March. They would pick up the rent in April. This would give them 2 more months to get their finances in order, and he'd only be out 2 months' rent. And as an added bonus, it's closer to SIL's job and would cut 10 minutes off her daily commute. Everybody's happy, right? Everybody except UB, that is. Looking at the apartment, he complained it was too small. He complained that they'd have to pay for food and utilities. You know, the things he enjoys for free because my wife and I are paying now. He complained he'd have to set up his computer in the living room instead of the bedroom. Then he dropped this little nugget. With utilities, it's going to be higher. You should pay all our rent. We're doing you a favor. My son assumed he misheard him and restated his offer. He'd pay for February and March. They'd assume payments in April. Nope, not good enough. To UB's way of thinking, our son should pay their rent for the remainder of the lease, 10 months, and let them live there rent-free. Seal was mortified at UB for trying to take advantage of our son, her nephew, that way. After months and months of listening to him complain about his suffering while others paid for everything, she finally had enough. UB, I like this place, so I'm moving in, but you're not. When we get home, you're packing your stuff, and I'm driving you to your mother's. No more free rides? We're done. Our son called with the happy news on multiple fronts while they drove home. Instead of 30 minutes, they took an hour to get home, and we were a little concerned. We called and she confirmed everything was okay. So we assembled the moving boxes for him so he could start packing right away. Why postpone the party? He walked in the door to find everything he needed to pack up. Apparently on their ride back, UB was whining and complaining about their breakup. They stopped to talk for a bit, at which point he said something, Sil won't say what, that creeped her out, and she asked me to drive him to his mother's, which I was more than pleased to do. We drove about an hour to his mother's place without speaking. I helped him carry his stuff to the porch. Out of politeness, I extended him hand and wished him luck. He stared at me and didn't say a word. There was no, thanks for letting me live with you for free for almost a year. Or, tell Sil I'm sorry. He just stared like the petulant child he is. Sil is doing really well. We're going to miss her moving away, and especially our son moving quite a distance away. But useless boyfriend? We'll miss him about as we will last week's recycling. At least the recycling can be turned into something useful. Update. It was a busy weekend. On Saturday, we helped our son pack and move out to pursue his future. Not going to lie, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Huge, uncontrollable sobs from my wife as he pulled away. We gave him the 2 months' rent so he doesn't have to eat that expense. We realized we'd completely forgotten about the security deposit. Landlord did a quick walkthrough and cut him a check in full on the spot. We gave him a check on Siel's behalf, so everything is now completely in her name. On Sunday, we helped Siel move in. More sobbing from my wife, who has really grown to love having her sister living with us. It was made better by them scheduling all the who visits who when for the week. Siel has put useless boyfriend in the rearview mirror. UB did call her to apologize and try to make things better. I didn't hear the conversation, but he apparently said all the wrong things, because she was only madder by the time she hung up on him. He hasn't called or texted her since. One key difference: having had a front row seat for her past breakups, there was no second guessing this time. She seems sure this is the right move for her. I think this will stick. Story 2. Why can't I get a free color laser printer instead? My employees have been working remotely for about a year now, and like most businesses, we weren't as prepared as we could have been. I bought new laptops, docking stations, and 2 monitors for everyone last year, but one thing I forgot was printers. Everyone said they had a printer, so I said I'd just reimburse for toner/ink. Problem solved. Well, not really. Some had inkjets, and those cartridges add up quickly. And when people had to scan and archive documents, people who didn't have a scanner would have to trek into the office to do it. Not an impossible situation, just not a great one. And as work has picked up, it became a growing headache. Last week I decided that we're going to let our office lease expire and go full remote for the rest of 2021. I don't think anyone wants to be trekking to my house to scan documents. Dan, not his real name, on our team is really tech-savvy. He has a good multi-function laser printer that does scanning and faxing. It prints double-sided and at a pretty good speed and has Wi-Fi support. Best of all, he's really familiar with it, and he said he'd help anyone with setup. It's what he told me to buy, and it works great. Last Friday, I told everyone I was buying these printers for their work at home. A number of people have kids who are remote learning, so I said they could let their kids and spouses use it too. People seemed pretty pleased. This weekend, I had the following maddening email exchange with a team member's wife. Please note, there were other pleasantries exchanged in the email, so it reads a bit harsher than it actually was, but I am still surprised at the audacity of this woman. This woman was so adept at dodging facts that she should consider running for office. Wife beggar. Hi, this is wife beggar. I'm poor husband's wife. I heard you were giving everyone printers and that you said it was okay for our kids to use it for schoolwork. Me. Hi, wife beggar. Yes, it supports Wi-Fi, so anyone in the house can use it. I don't know much about setup, but one of our guys, Dan, is really tech-savvy and volunteered to help anyone and their family with setup. I hope it helps. Wife beggar. Would it be possible to get a color printer? Me. It's easier if everyone has the same model. Dan is really familiar with this model. Plus, it makes it easier for tracking, accounting, and supplies. So, this is the best fit. Wife beggar. I just found other model for the same money. It wouldn't cost you more. Could we get that one instead? Me. In the long run, it does. Color cartridges cost more money. Plus, that one is slower and doesn't support scanning. Wife beggar. The kids will mind if it's slower, and they don't need to scan anything for school. Me.
The primary purpose of this printer is for poor husband's work. The speed and scanning are most important for him. Wife beggar. He doesn't scan anything. Our current printer doesn't scan at all. Me. I know. He has to drive into the office to do it. This will save him time, plus we're not going to have an office after June. Wife beggar. He won't mind, and I've overheard you in WebEx meetings talking about the danger of one-size-fits-all thinking. Isn't that what this is? Finally, I lost my patience. I was done negotiating with a beggar. Me. Wife beggar, one of these printers will be arriving there today or tomorrow. That printer is Rando Boomer Co. property for the purpose of poor husband to do his job. Within reason, your kids can use it for schoolwork. Please have your husband get in touch with Dan if he needs assistance. Wife beggar. Oh, I thought you were buying it for us to keep. Never mind then. First, how would this behavior have been okay if it were a gift? Second, are that many employers giving away printers? I did get an email from the husband later, apologizing. Let's hope his kids take after him.